all, my name is Haley Comet and welcome to my cosmic corner of the internet where we discuss all things astrology, and today all things birth chart. I am so excited to be doing a birth chart reading on my channel. My intention for this video, I want you to be able to learn a couple of techniques. Maybe you're a student of astrology and you're just not sure how to conduct a birth chart reading. You're not sure where to start. You're not sure how to make sense of all the different pieces. Hopefully seeing them come to life will help to connect a couple of those dots for you. Maybe you have similar components to this birth chart, so you can learn a little bit more about you. And if you have been considering getting a reading from me, I hope that this can familiarize you with my style. So moving forward, I will be offering only recorded readings. So it's essentially all of the information you would get in a one-on-one consultation, but in a recorded video format. So I'll be right here chatting through your chart in a similar method as I will chat through the individual's chart reading that I will show you through. And you'll be able to keep the recording. You'll get it within 2 weeks' time. This is a shift for me. I've been doing one-on-one consultations for about 5 years now without taking a break, and I absolutely love it. I love connecting with individuals. However, I launched a course, Self-Care Astrology, if you want to check it out. And as part of the course, there is an ability to work one-on-one with me and with the beautiful souls who have chosen to jump in. I just need to make sure that my schedule allows them space so that I can support the process. I was not expecting to have the enrollment that we've had. I'm really grateful for it, but I do need to make some shifts with my schedules just to ensure that I'm available for those students in that container. I don't want to shut myself off from reading all of your charts because seriously, it gives me so much joy. I've just found recorded readings are better for my energy levels. It's still the same information that you would get, but it sort of helps me out as an introvert, as well as availability purposes, that I can make sure I'm giving your chart my fullest attention, my fullest heart at a time that I really feel high energy, because I would never ever want to, spend an hour with you where I don't feel my best, because you and your chart deserve so much more. So loves, I'm going to take you into a sample chart reading. This is a real human. I will not be sharing their name for privacy purposes. It was used with permission. Hopefully this teaches you a couple of techniques. Hopefully you can learn a few components about how to conduct a chart reading if my style resonates, and hopefully this illuminates my style of reading in case you resonate and are looking to connect with your chart deeper via a recorded reading. So all of my recorded reading links are available below. It's about a 2-week turnaround. I will communicate a delivery date so you can check that out. And without further ado, let's take it to the chart of, I'm gonna call them Interplanet Janet. Hello, I have the honor of reading a beautiful birth chart today, and I will be illuminating it as we move through, and hopefully it will be valuable if you are either considering a reading with me and want to get a sense for my style and how I conduct these recorded readings, or if you're ready to step into that role of being a cosmic conduit yourself and want to understand deeper how these strategies are used, where to start when analyzing a birth chart. Of course, this is just my style. Take what works for you, leave the rest. But I hope this can be enlightening for those who view it. And without further ado, let's dive into the birth chart of Interplanet Janet. That's always what I call anyone whose chart I use within my program, Self-Care Astrology, or in my live classes. And if you know, you know. Schoolhouse Rock, Interplanet Janet. So here's our Interplanet Janet. And typically I move through these readings pretty intuitively, just noticing what catches my eye. And the first thing that catches my eye when I look at this birth chart is this clashing energy between Sun and Moon. Now, Sun is our ego, it's our identity. So a lot of people may know Interplanet Janet and really see this Sagittarius can-do spirit. Like, this individual seems like someone who is so positive and really wants to see the good in other people, cheerleader, motivator of other people, and not in a facetious or a fake way. It's very much, Sagittarius is a truth-seeking energy. So if this individual gives you a compliment with that Sagittarius and with the Virgo having their high standards, like, this individual means it when they give a compliment to you. But with Sagittarius Sun, a lot of people might see that because Sun is what we radiate out. So a lot of people might see Interplanet Janet. They're like, yeah, Interplanet Janet's always on an adventure, always on a quest, always, life of the party, or always just shining their light, always motivating the individuals around them. And they might not necessarily see the more Virgo parts of the personality. And even those pieces within Interplanet Janet's being could be conflicted at times. That Sagittarian desire for truth, for expansion, for going on a quest, for finding meaning within the reality, whereas the Virgo Moon and Rising really wants to control reality. So it's kind of like a battle at times between the Sagittarius Moon. Let's adventure, let's explore, let's see and feel and experience new things. But then the Virgo Moon and Rising can get really nervous about that. Like, what's it going to be like? I have to control it once I get there. So it can sort of be a clashing energy. And a lot of people might not understand how particular Interplanet Janet is, or how nervous Interplanet Janet can be every so often with that clash. And I also want to illuminate here that Interplanet Janet was born during a last quarter moon, because we see that Sun and the Moon are squaring one another. It is a very wide orb, but I would consider this a last quarter moon and a Sun-Moon square. And last quarter moon is referred to as the crisis of spirit. And no, Interplanet Janet, this does not mean your life is in crisis, but it is meant to represent that energy when we realize we need to live for something deeper. Crisis of spirit is like the energy when you've gotten everything and then you realize that it doesn't mean anything necessarily. It's the sort of energy when you reach that cross in the road, or that fork in the road rather, where it's like continue on, the road around possessions or materialism, or wherever that shows up for you. It's the road of what doesn't really mean anything to you. It's like what society, what the world told you that you should value, but internally you could just feel like you get it, you attain it, and then you just feel this sensation of feeling lost, or feeling like, what I thought this was going to make me feel, I'm not feeling that way necessarily. And the purpose of it, and it's not to say that you're going to have that energy where you're stuck there, but it's meant to represent individuals who have to find this deeper experience of life. It's typically individuals who will not be soothed by just attaining and chasing material possessions or what other people tell them is important. It's called crisis of spirit because it is a lifetime in which they are here to dig deep and find what matters to them and clarify what matters to them. Both first quarter and last quarter moons tend to be very, very gifted when it comes to crises and transitions. And the crisis of spirit phase, the last, it's a waning moon, they typically tend to be very good around transformations and transitions, both themselves as well as others. And with that 12th house moon, can't wait to talk about it. But it very much feels like this chart is the person that you could go to if you were in the middle of a divorce or a lawsuit or something that's so turbulent within your reality. And this person is just able to be really grounded. And it's not to say, Interplanet Janet, that you constantly need to be helping other people. That's another thing we're going to talk about. But with last quarter moon, they can find a lot of intrinsic joy in serving, so long as it aligns with what genuinely means something to them. Like when you have a last quarter moon, there's this desire to find this deeper meaning of life. And some last quarter moons will find it through religion, some will find it through spirituality, some find it through altruism, some find it through parenting. But there is this experience around wanting to devote their lives to this meaning or to this cause of some sort. And oftentimes, when you see last quarter moons, a lot of times they have to get everything before they realize that it wasn't really soothing what it was that they were really after, that sense of connection. Some last quarter moons are very old souls, like they're very wise right from the get-go. Some have to go on that journey around trying to get everything to realize that it's not enough. But the power of the last quarter moon, is to realize that everything is in flux. Like I said, with this crisis of spirit, they could be so there for other people's transformations and transitions and when other people are going through things, because they have this, it's almost like this calm or this peaceful energy in being able to like realize that life is constantly changing, it's constantly in flux, and they almost have this spiritual solace around being able to guide people from one phase of their life into the next.
And whether that shows up as, being some sort of like doula or a death doula or, a therapist, it doesn't necessarily need to come out with career. It could just come out with interpersonal connections, but they are very gifted in honoring and honing the art of transitions, the art of knowing when to let go. And because they are led by this spirit, or finding a spiritual connection, they can sink into that wisdom and knowing that they are always protected and guided. And that's why it's also interesting looking at this Sagittarius Sun and this Virgo Moon, because it's like part of Interplanet Janet's chart is really asking her to lean in and surrender, because the Virgo Moon and Virgo rising wants to control everything, wants to be perfect, wants to be everything for everyone. And with the last quarter moon and the Sagittarius Sun, it's like the direction of life is just moving forward. We can't control reality. We can't control the future. That's also what the Virgo Moon and rising wants. And it's about learning to just sort of relax into that ebb and feel supported by something bigger than Interplanet Janet, and feel supported by that spiritual mission, or where it is this individual finds that sense of meaning. So it's a conflict. It doesn't mean anything's wrong with you. It's not a flaw. It's something that you are learning to balance. And your Virgo Moon, I don't mean to talk badly about it. I'm a Virgo Moon and rising, sorry. I have a tendency to talk badly about my own placements. It's a bad habit. There's so much beauty to it, and I'll make sure to dive into that. But here it's sort of this balance around, let's expand the best of the future, or the best of your realities in the future. And the Virgo Moon's like, but what's going to happen? What can we control? And this is sort of mirrored with the last quarter moon around just trusting in the rhythms of life, even in those moments when it feels like the end, even when it feels really scary, even if you're not sure what happens, you're going to find, like, every time you're in a crisis situation when there's a major transformation and there's like a lot of fear around that leap of faith or what comes next, you'll be surprised at how spiritually supported you are. And this lifetime is sort of about illustrating that we really don't have as much control as we want as Virgo moons and risings, but you will be protected and cared for in a myriad of ways. And I'll specify into that. Firstly, let me highlight the amazing parts of the Virgo moon, because I feel like I was so mean to it, and I don't mean to be. So Virgo moon is what it is that gives ourselves a sense of safety in this reality. This is why I was saying it's more of a private part of your being than outwardly people are seeing the Sagittarius, they're seeing the fun, they're seeing the honest, they're seeing the funny. Internally, there's this Virgo moon, which could be very nervous, trying to handle the little details of reality. And you can feel really soothed when you have all your ducks in a row, when you have a sense of order, when the home is clean, when things are super aligned. And the struggle about having a Virgo moon and a Virgo rising is that Virgo is looking for perfection in an imperfect world. It's looking to continually clean up a world that keeps getting messy. And it kind of brings me back to this conflict between the sun and the moon. And I don't mean to use the word conflict, but it's like this energy around wanting things to be perfect, but then relaxing and realizing that they never will be. Like, it's okay to relax if your house isn't inherently perfect. It's okay to, have a good time, even if you have to push your grocery store. Like, Virgo can be an energy that's embedded with some guilt, and part of your journey this lifetime is like releasing control and surrendering into, okay, it's never going to be perfect. I'm never going to have everything go according to plan. As much as I deeply want it to, it's really not going to happen that way. And part of my journey is about relaxing into the flow of life and loosening my grip around perfection. The gifts of the Virgo moon is that you are very thoughtful, you are very intelligent, you are very responsible. With the Virgo moon conjoining Jupiter, you are very generous. You genuinely believe in the good in life. You believe in the good in other people. And with it in the 12th house. So 12th house is the hidden house. And a lot of times when someone has their moon in the 12th house, they can have this delayed reaction to their own emotions, okay? And this sort of gets me into another bucket I wanted to make sure that we spoke on. But with a Virgo moon in the 12th, there can be this energy around like your Venus Libra wants to keep the peace so badly and make sure everyone's happy and, you know, lightening up everybody's day, that it's sometimes if something's bothering you, you can just push it, or even realize like 3 weeks later, like, ooh, what Tommy said really bothered me, and I just realized it, and it's just coming to the surface. And with a moon in the 12th, part of the reason why you could be hiding what it is that you feel is, you know, to keep the peace, to make everyone else happy. But part of it might be legitimate. Like there can be a delayed reaction to your own emotions, or at times an uncertainty around what it is that you need internally, or maybe that's just not seen as important. And there's also this energy when you have moon in the 12th house around alone time. When someone has moon in the 12th house, moon is what it is that fills us up, that makes us feel safe and nurtured and cared for, and 12th house is solitude. So a lot of those emotional aha moments or illuminations could bubble up when you are alone. But the interesting thing about having 12th house placements is that this constant back and forth between wanting alone time, and once you get it, it feels isolating and even to some degrees scary at times, like dealing with what's been hidden or not, what's not necessarily there. And with alone time, I would encourage you to take it. 12th house moons are the mystics. I would definitely empower you. I mean, last quarter moon, 12th house moon, there's something within your chart where you are gifted at helping people spiritually transition within their world. And that doesn't have to be that you need to show up and career change and go do this, but there's something about, a lot of people can magnetize you to their orbit when you are, or rather when they are going through something significant. Like you can notice you get closer to family members, get closer to friends when they're going through something. And there's really this gift in being able to synchronize with the energetic wavelengths and realize like life is constantly in flux, and sort of be that stability for other people. It's like stability, but it's not. It's like stability in that you ground them, but it's like not stability in that you remind them that everything's always changing and the direction of life keeps going onward. And we teach what we most need to know. So it's also energy you're mastering yourself. But there really is this ability with 12th house moon to get a lot of intuitive insights. You can have a really strong intuition. Many are psychic. Many have prophetic dreams. I'm curious what your dreaming world is like, because 12th house moons either can have prophetic dreams or have a really hard time sleeping. Wherever moon is placed, we can have some fluctuations within that energy. So 12th house moons can have a really hard time sleeping. They can feel really restless. A lot of them are sleep talkers or sleepwalkers or things of the nature. There's something about sleep where it's not always as restful. But with 12th house moon, just to expand on the intuitive portion that I was saying, this is heightened, especially since you have Jupiter there as well. So I just wanted to empower you. If anything about that rang an interest within you, 12th house individuals are the ones who tend to be tapped in, okay? Because 12th house is also the collective consciousness. Again, you could be unconscious to your own emotional responses, but you are energetically tapped into others. So you will go into that party and feel, okay, Betty Sue is upset about this. Jim is just in the corner eating nachos, looking sad. He's probably upset at that. You're so energetically dialed into the world around you that you could be trying to make everyone else feel comfortable or like feel at ease, that you don't even notice, like, hey, I am sad and I don't feel well and I don't want to be at this party. But it's like you're so tuned into the world around you that it could be overwhelming, which is also why that 12th house moon, it's helpful to have alone time to just reinvigorate your space. Because internally with moon Jupiter, like, it does feel from your chart that you are very introverted. Maybe not very, but introverted. Like I see that you love people, but you need that alone time in order for you to return to your leveled self. because internally you are grounded. Like with the Virgo moon, it keeps you grounded, it keeps you on task, it keeps you attaining things. With the moon conjoining Jupiter, like you are an optimist, you believe in the good in life. And if you're noticing you just feel heavy, also pay attention to your body, because that's the other thing with having a Virgo moon and Virgo rising is there's a strong body-mind connection. So if you notice, ooh, I spend time with Betty Sue and I start getting like headaches and backaches. Ooh, when I'm at that job, I notice that my tummy always feels in knots. Ooh, it's like there's a strong body mind connection. So honoring that wisdom and doing what you need to bring yourself back into flex. Because when you are balanced, when you are taking care of yourself, like internally, like you are someone who is optimistic, generous, kind, nurturing, like that is so you. But it's when you take on too many people's energies that you can notice that you just feel absolutely drained, or even angry at times. That could be something that comes up. So just something to be mindful of and to continually bring yourself back into balance. 12th house moons, you know, if you wanted to connect, it's said that with Jupiter in the 12th, that they are protected when it comes to the other side. So typically there could be ancestors or people on the other side who are looking out for them, and they can have a natural ability to be able to connect with the other side. If that is something that resonates, if that is not something that resonates, please feel free to let it go. But I want you to be open, those insights coming out if you are looking for that. And another huge part that I feel called to tell you about your chart is like, you do not need to do it all yourself. Like with a Virgo rising, there's almost this energy where you feel like you have to constantly project, I've got it all together. Everything is perfect with my world and my issues are not your problem. And I don't need anyone's help, but I'll help you with your stuff, even if you're overwhelmed and fatigued and exhausted. There's so much on your plate, right? And I want you to know that whether it's to people within your life or to your ancestors, your spiritual 14, it's okay to ask for help. Like Virgos can have this energy where they feel like they have to project that they've got it all together. Everything's going well here. Don't worry about me, because it can feel, and with the Virgo moon 12th house, there can be a pattern around denying your own emotions or denying what it is that you need at that moment at the expense of feeling like you have to continually show up and do everything right and do everything perfectly in order to feel like enough, right? So I also just want to encourage you, like if you feel stuck, I know there can feel this pressure, like you have to have it all together. You got to keep, you know, the family unit together. You got to keep the work team together, wherever it is that you feel that pressure to be able to be the one to get it all together, the one who's got all the stuff together, who handles all the details for everybody else. And no one asks about me because I'm the strong friend, right? Like I want you to lean into feeling safe asking for help, whether that's from your spiritual support team within the 12th house, because it seems with this moon Jupiter, they are wanting to help you. You are protected, you are supported, or within people within your life. Like also knowing with the 12th house moon, they, you know, you don't have to swallow everything. Like it's okay to talk about what is upsetting you or what is bothering you. You don't have to continually, you know, build it up and build it up and build it up. And this makes me feel inspired to talk about your ruling planet, which is that Mercury retrograde, which also sort of highlights this energy around feeling like you have to keep it all in or handle it all yourself, because there's this interesting oxymoron, and I'll keep saying this just because you're Sagittarius Sun, Virgo Moon, and these energies can be, you know, opposites at times, is that with the Mercury in Sagittarius, this is its fall, or rather detriment, sorry. This is the planet's detriment. And with Mercury, which means basically it's not as comfy there, because Mercury in Sagittarius is drawn to the big picture. And with it in third house, it's not to say that you're quiet. It's not to say that you're quiet. You choose your words thoughtfully. And particularly with that moon Mercury square, particularly when it comes to your emotions, you choose them very thoughtfully. So thoughtfully at times you might not even voice them, or you might find when you voice them, they get really misconstrued. And I just do want to highlight, at the time of filming this, which is March 2022, you are nearing some upcoming Neptune squaring Mercury. So the energy of feeling like people misunderstand you can be heightened. The dates are April 2022, September 2022, and February 2023. And what you need to know about that, basically Neptune can fog and confuse. And already there feels to be this energy where you could feel misunderstood, particularly if you speak out about something that's emotionally bothering you. And with Mercury and Sagittarius, there's a gift for communication, certainly, but it's more so big picture. It's more so, honestly, you just feel like such a great motivator for people when they are, you know, bummed or upset, or they win the soccer game. Like with Mercury and Sagittarius, you're very much the cheerleader. And I may have highlighted this earlier, but, and not from a fake perspective, like Sagittarius is truth seeker, truth teller. So they'll tell you how it is, but they can't help. You need to live in a reality. Your own emotional landscape, your own chart needs to live in a reality that is positive. And it's not that you avoid the negative, but like for you to feel even keel, you have to be able to see the good in things. You have to be able to see the good in people. You can know that you're off kilter when that is not a reality, or like when you are not being able to see that, not being able to see the good in others, not being able to see the good in around you, which is why I think the last quarter moon is sharpening you to focus. What is it that you believe in? What is it that gives you the sense of meaning broader than just our material possessions? Because I feel like it helps you plug in your emotional landscape where you feel connected to something bigger, so then you're able to sort of seek out the positivity. Because part of Sagittarius, it's not being the positive Pollyanna, let's just avoid and ignore anything that's negative within the world, because there's a lot going on, right? But it's like, okay, I've been so in touch with the negative in the world, or I'm so aware of the negative in the world, and I realize, because I'm a last quarter moon, that our time here is limited, that we have to find this broader connection to something. I choose to see the good. I choose to find the meaning. I choose to, you know, expand what it is that means something to me. And with Mercury and Sagittarius, while it's technically in detriment, it is gifted around the big picture. It's gifted to be optimistic. It's gifted in being creative. With Mercury in the third house, you can find that whether it's, I don't know if it's necessarily writing or just, it could absolutely be writing or like journaling your thoughts down, or even just talking to other people. There is definitely a way with words there. But with a retrograde, when you have a retrograde planet, it indicates a sort of internal lens where the energy sort of boomerangs in before it boomerangs out. And you might have noticed this particularly when you were younger, because now your progressed Mercury has gone direct. And with Mercury retrograde, these individuals can find that when they were younger, they had to refine their language. Some were very shy. I mean, your Mercury is pretty much on the IC. So there could have been an energy of being very shy, very withdrawn, not wanting to speak up because you didn't want your emotions to be misconstrued. There could have been energy on the other side of talking so much that part of you had to learn how to like rein it in. Either way, whether you were someone who's very quiet or very loquacious, there is a chart desire for you to learn how to wield your language and your communication strategies effectively and refine it. So sometimes Mercury retrograde people will be interested in things such as Toastmasters or something that helps them refine their words. Definitely writing, which is why I was highlighting it earlier. Journaling could help you sort of tap into how it is that you want to communicate, as well as just feeling safe speaking your truth. Some astrologers believe that Mercury retrograde indicates that there was certain past life karma around speaking out about something, that there's karma around their voice, so they have to wield their powers of communication very thoughtfully and very effectively. And parts of this could certainly be for you, but with it right on the IC, it could also be around, I'll just name a couple of manifestations. One could be like breaking a certain pattern that has been in your family, like ancestry or something of the nature, breaking a certain pattern of communication or how people talk to one another, or encouraging a new pattern in the family that you create. Or part of it is around feeling more comfortable speaking out about what it is that you're feeling, like speaking out about what it is your personal truth, because it feels that you are very much able to spotlight that when you see it within other people. But with you, sometimes you can just suppress it and hide it and just be the one who's helping everyone else with their problems and not the one who shares theirs. Interplanet Janet. And so with that Mercury retrograde, boomerangs in, boomerangs out. And what's significant about being a Virgo rising is that your ruling planet also rules your midheaven, which is your career, your public persona. Gemini And especially having your midheaven ruler in the third house and it being in Gemini, I would just really encourage your language. You have something significant to say. That's what I'm saying. Like Mercury retrograde individuals, a disproportionate amount of them are writers and speakers because they're being asked to refine their language and share. And particularly within Gemini midheaven, firstly, I want to give you permission. You've got Pluto in the second, Gemini midheaven. Give yourself permission, like on a career level, to do a lot of different things. Like you're a Virgo moon and rising, you're so capable. You learn something in like 2 seconds. Again, you're hard on yourself and you can you can think it's not good enough and someone else will look at it and be like, what? It's perfect. But you're pretty gifted at being able to pick up new things. And with the Gemini midheaven, like give yourself permission to be known for more than one thing, to do more than one thing, to dally into things and see how it feels and let it go if it doesn't. Gemini is the twin, so a lot of Gemini midheavens do more than one thing. So give yourself permission for that as well. And Pluto in the second, the reason I called that in is just because Pluto is the energy of rebirth. So with Pluto in the second house, they can sort of destroy what it was that they did for money prior and rebuild something else. So I just want to highlight within your chart that it's not that you have to stick to one thing and do it for your entire reality. And in fact, there's some past life karma around that, which are sort of reworking. We'll get there when we get there. But what I want to highlight here, give yourself permission to do different things. Again, your Virgo moon and rising will be hard on yourself if you don't do something, full out, but you're here to be inspired, to go on a quest, to go on an adventure. And that also echoes into your professional life. And I think I highlighted this, but I just want to go a little bit deeper that your ruling planet also rules your midheaven. So Gemini midheaven, Virgo rising are both answering to that Mercury retrograde, which makes it even more important. Gemini is the energy of the communicator, of the messenger. It's in the third house. Third house governs marketing, writing, social media, sharing of information, immediate environment. It's right on the IC. So you could even be called to write or to share information around familial themes of some sort or very personal means. And whether you want to do it, I'm not saying you have to go be a writer if you don't necessarily want to, but it also could be very clarifying for you internally to journal on your emotions. I just, with Mercury retrograde joining the IC, could be super clarifying, as well as giving yourself space to learn different skills and seeing what feels good for you and to feel comfortable to share, because it feels that you are here to be a disseminator of information or to be a sharer of information. And so, and part of that with Mercury retrograde and with the Virgo moon and rising, you might, I don't know, judge yourself if you post something or if you write a blog post or something like, people are gonna not take this seriously. But Gemini is like the little, and again, our midheaven is what we sort of need to harness in order to find success within the public world. And Gemini is sort of like the butterfly, just sort of like flickers from thing to thing, and it sort of just shares as things come up. So just kind of getting yourself, if that resonates, if that is something that you want to lean into, getting yourself in that lens of sharing information, sharing this, seeing if that resonates, trying this style, seeing if that resonates, trying this skill, trying this, this freelance opportunity, whatever it is, like giving yourself permission to do different things. And with Mercury retrograde, there's a reason you're being asked to refine your language so much. Like there's a reason why you're being asked to feel more comfortable sharing, more comfortable speaking your truth. And part of that is getting over that analysis paralysis of your Virgo moon rising, being like, it must be perfect. Gemini midheaven's like, no, it just needs to be like light and informational and curious and led by your own interests. Like I do feel that there is a lot to share there. So I just wanted to highlight that. And with that, you also have within your third house of communication, Sun conjoining Mars. So, and I feel like your soul really wanted that Sagittarius Mars because it's at 0 degrees. So it just shifted, right? And when we have a planet on our sun, we can sort of absorb the qualities of it, or the sun's light can burn it out. So I'm going to highlight both and take what resonates. So for some individuals with Sun Mars, they take that Mars-like energy, which Mars is action, assertion, and it's embedded into their personality. This is where I got that you're sort of this motivator, cheerleading like energy for other people. Again, you need some of that for yourself as well. And you can be someone who is a go-getter, who is inspired by life, who wants to, you know, tune to their big picture sort of like goals and adventure. The sun, it's technically combust, which is a term that means the sun's light is sort of burning out Mars. Again, not a bad thing. I just really want to draw into focus, in case this still feels relevant within your life, that sometimes people who have Mars combust can feel powerless within their own world. They can go to like excess and trying to prove their own power, their advocacy, or things like that. Or they could have felt like, whether it was like early in life or a prior lifetime, they could have felt powerless. So again, it also sort of ties into your Virgo moon stuff, where it's like, it's not safe for other people to meet my needs, so I always need to meet my own. You know, like almost overcompensating around feeling a sense of powerlessness. So it's like, I'll never feel that way again. I never want to rely on anyone again. Because with all this Sagittarius, there is a very independent part of your personality, but you love, you're truly romantic. But again, outwardly, people might just really see that you're independent. And again, you might want to be known as someone who's got it together. I don't need you. I'm independent. I'm doing my own thing, whatever it is, or wherever that is that it shows up. I do just want to highlight that where Mars is placed, we can have a bit of conflict at times, or put a lot of energy into. It's also in the 3rd house, which is the themes that I talked about earlier. And with Sun also there, you can really shine creatively within the verbal written world. So I just really would support you in that. 3rd house, outside of just like communicating and writing, it's also any skill that you would take on. It's the mind, it's learning. And that's really an important check-in for yourself. Like at every new level of life, like, are you learning? Are you excited by what it is that you are learning and the ways that you are growing? That's a really good check-in, because a stagnant Sagittarius who feels like they're not moving forward will be an apathetic Sagittarius. In particular within 3rd house, there is a constant desire for you to harness that spirit of the eternal student and continually be learning, like be on this quest. You know, Sagittarius is the archer, arrow pointing at the truth, and to be on this search for the truth and to be able to learn through it. So whether that's classes, books, whatever it is, there is this desire to constantly be learning and harness that eternal student. And where I'm seeing this take place within your chart is sort of like learning and then echoing that into your world. So whether it's like a gather of information and share within your interpersonal contacts or within social media, or however it is you want to submit information, I'm seeing within your chart this desire to want to learn, research, understand, take on these new skills, and allow that to echo and allow it to spread those messages to the right people. I also want to highlight that I do feel like you could be gifted with 3rd house, also communication. So even if you didn't necessarily like, I don't necessarily want to show up on social media, that doesn't necessarily align, you could also be gifted around just saying the right thing at the right time to people. Or it's like someone comes to you and they're having all these issues with like their digestion, and you just read something last week about fish oil, like in some article, and then you recommend it to that, and that like totally saves the day. Like also pay attention to how your intuition or your spirit can be talking to you through those random like downloads around, oh, you should look this up or learn this, and then it comes up in a conversation. Like you can be a conduit for spirit, even in interpersonal conversations. Like it's not even that you have to flip over cards. If you could just be able to transmit either the right inspirational message at the right time or the right like factual information at the right time. So I just support you, continue to learn, continue to share that information. I touched on this lightly, but I just want to dive deeper into it, is that with the Pluto in the 2nd house, I said that this can give a regenerative energy when it comes to money and ways to make money. And that's one element of it. I also want to highlight that Pluto is destruction and rebirth. And with Pluto in the 2nd house, there can be, because 2nd house is money, it's finances. And I'll just name a couple of manifestations. One being Pluto in the 2nd house can have a lot of fears around money. They can have fears around how it changes people. They can have a lot of scarcity around it, fearing lagging it. They could have gone through, you know, traumatic experiences like in youth where it wasn't enough, or they didn't feel like they had enough. And again, there could be this feeling around, oh my gosh, what if someone takes everything that I've built and everything that I've created? There can also be this energy with Pluto in the 2nd house around just like fearing what money does to people, or just with wherever Pluto is placed, we can obsess about. So there can be a certain obsession energy about money. I would just assume with with the Virgo Moon, Virgo rising, Pluto in the second house, you could be pretty gifted at saving when you when you want to or when you need to. But just really important to observe any fears that you have around money, whether it's the lack of it, like the scarcity of finances, and also allowing yourself to sort of lean into, which is going to feel, this is going to feel uncomfortable, but with Pluto in the second house, leaning into the, you know, fluctuations of finances at times, and like not going to like crisis doom spiral mode, which your Virgo moon and rising will feel tempted to do. Like if, you know, if you had a bad month in commission, or there was like an unexpected bill, like not spiraling into doom. The cool thing about Pluto in the second house is that a lot of like millionaires and billionaires have it because Pluto is extreme. So there is a potential for, you know, a lot of wealth because Pluto is extremes, but it also brings forth any like fears that we have around money, whether it's what if people treat me differently if I have money, or what if I don't have enough, and what if, you know, everything goes badly because I dared to spend that extra $20 getting a blowout. Blowouts are not $20, but wherever, because it's interesting because typically Virgo energy is pretty good at, you know, saving, but with Venus in Libra, they typically like beauty, they like lovely things. So let's just go there. And it's in your first house, so I would imagine you really, really lovely style, really, really beautiful. Libra, with Venus and Libra, there really is a love for love. It's like you value your independence. Sagittarius and the Virgo are both very independent energies, but then with Venus and Libra, but you want to love, like some people want to, like that is just part of you that you are like craving. Like you could have found you've like always had crushes or always been looking for the right person. Like there really is the strong desire for love. With the square to Neptune, there can be a tendency at times to want to see the best in people at your own, you know, detriment at times, or to wear rose-colored glasses, wanting to see, you know, what that person could be and not necessarily seeing the reality of it always. It won't always manifest that way. I will say with Venus squaring Neptune in the first, like it just gives this really lovely, almost otherworldly way to how it is that you express yourself. Like there's going to be a very particular way of how you dress and do all your stuff, get ready every day, but it's going to really have this otherworldly, lovely, enchanting glow about it. And with, you know, and with that Venus in the first, it's sextile at Mercury, Sagittarius, like very, very charming, very, very like positive, loving energy with it there. Yeah, that Venus in Libra in the first house is just a blessing. And like you are able to get in a room with Interplanet Janet is to like Interplanet Janet. Like with Venus Libra in the first house, there's just a natural charisma. And it's like you don't talk just to fill space. You're very thoughtful about the words that you choose. You don't just blow smoke up people's butts. You choose your words thoughtfully and intentionally, and you ask good questions and you pay attention. And that's also why people like you. Like Libra is the energy around balancing your needs with mine. And so Venus Libras tend to be very, very charming, charismatic, focused on the other person. They value harmony and balance. And I would just say with the square to Neptune and Moon in the 12th house, at times you value that harmony, that it's like, okay, I'm upset about this, but I'm just going to let it go. I don't want to make a fuss. It's okay. I just want everyone to get along, which is great, obviously, but just important if you notice that it's just building up and building up and building up. So I do want to talk about your North and South node. So you have South Node Cancer in 10th house. And this is why I was saying in this lifetime, it is okay to change your mind, okay? Especially professionally, okay? And like with career and anything of that nature. And with South Node, this represents past life stories and themes. And so with South Node Cancer in the 10th house, there feels to be this past life regret around you had to be more concerned about your public reality rather than your private. Like it feels that you did not get to change your mind, and you sort of sacrifice personal happiness as well as familial happiness to be something within the public eye. So again, that's why I was like treading really lightly when I was talking about like career and public persona, because it's like in this lifetime, you're meant to have an experience you haven't had in prior lifetimes, which is around grounding down within a really sacred, private reality. Like with past lifetimes, it's interesting because it's Cancer, which is the sign of home, but you could have been, you know, someone who was really well known, like in the hospitality sector, or was like a caretaker for like other people, like not close to home, like very external, out in the world, known for this. And there feels to be a past life regret around that was center stage, and not your own desires, and not your own happiness, and not your own family, and not your own roots, and not your own ancestry. And so in this lifetime, because it feels like you were someone of prominence, or at least prominence, like people knew you, in this lifetime, what you need to be mindful of is around just being on a path around, I've got to be successful and I've got to be known, because that's what my value will come from. Because you've been in that trap before. You've walked that path before, and it didn't internally make you happy. Or maybe it did, but in this lifetime you were like, I need to prioritize my happiness and my roots. Like the past lifetime, it was sort of all about what people saw of you. Like it was all about what it looked like. It wasn't about what it felt like. And in this lifetime, you just need to be mindful around, okay, am I doing this because it looks good? And I think I'm going to get, you know, approval from authority figures and from father figures, or from anyone in the external world? Or am I doing this because it feels good? Am I doing this because I'm trying to prove to everyone that I'm effective and great and capable? Or do I genuinely want to work on this? And because so much of your life was public, you didn't feel in past lifetimes that you got to change your mind. So I'm going to amend my prior manifestation and say, in this lifetime, it is okay to change your mind if it means more happiness. It is okay to try things, because in past lifetimes, you kind of didn't get to make a mistake. It was all out in the open. So you felt like you had to commit to what it was that you were doing, even if you were internally unhappy about it. And in this lifetime, you are being asked to prioritize your most private internal reality. You didn't really get to experience the feeling of being around or having a family in past lifetimes. So in this lifetime, that is a priority for your soul. And it's a priority to build a life from the inside out rather than the outside in. Like, I'll be happy when I accomplish enough. I'll be happy when I'm on the cover of Forbes or whatever else. This is like a life around, I'm happy because I get to wake up and smell the flowers and look at the sky. And if I want to do something, like if I want to go accomplish something with my day, that's amazing. But if the only productive thing that I do is hang out with my cat and enjoy a beautiful morning, that's okay. And in past lifetimes, you kind of didn't get that experience necessarily, or at least your happiness and your joy wasn't the focal point. And in this lifetime, it is meant to be one. And what's interesting is that your North Node is conjoining Uranus and it's conjoining Neptune. So there can be certain parts of your path that are controversial. There can be certain parts to your path that break the mold to a certain degree, whether it's breaking the molds of what was expected of you, or of what even like family wanted for you, because it is in the fourth house. There is a desire to break the mold of what society expects of you, to maybe walk, you know, a different path in life, to be your own person, to march to be your own drum. There is a desire to disrupt and to not conform. And with North Node Capricorn, it's really about being the boss and the manager of your own life and of your own happiness. So being okay with denying people access to you if it means protecting your own peace. This sort of brings me back to the boundaries that I was talking about earlier around bringing yourself back into focus. And with North Node Capricorn, it does support, you know, discipline and structure. And within the fourth house, around structuring the home, being like the leader of the home, as well as being the leader of your own life, like being the manager of your own life. Like you don't need to, yes, okay, this is making more sense to me. With South Node 10th house, you took care of people. You took care of people for a living. That's why you're so skilled in this lifetime around being able to like get these intuitive insights, or even just be able to create these illuminations for people if they're going through a transition. It feels like this is what you did for a career in a past life, and that's why there's some natural gifts there, and you still have those gifts. Okay, it's not saying that you should, hide those or not dial into those, especially if it interests you. But in this lifetime, you have to be, it feels like you were burnt out in a past life, and in this lifetime you have to be okay with letting people down. You have to be okay with letting people down. You cannot be everything to everyone. You tried in the past life and it burnt you out. And now you have to be able to advocate for yourself, to put down boundaries, whether it's with family, whether it's with friends, interpersonal contexts, and really make your own joy the focal point. And know that that is not selfish. It is okay to disrupt the desires of other people, because this life isn't for other people. You lived your past life for other people. This lifetime is about yourself and safeguarding your most private internal reality. And I do want to highlight that you have Kyron in Leo in the 11th. So there can be certain, and typically I don't talk about Kyron just floating in a house without aspect, but I just want to, I just felt called to highlight it right now, is with Kyron 11th house, there can be certain wounding around community, around groups, of feeling left out or feeling different than other people. And I highlight this because with North Node Uranus, it's okay to let people down. It's okay to be different than other people. It's okay to walk to the beat of your own drum. It's okay not to fit in. Like, that is very much what this life is about. So if you feel like you don't have that community, or you don't feel totally at ease in groups of people, you feel more comfortable one-on-one. Again, that's Mercury retrograde. But with Chiron and Leo, there can be certain wounds around feeling like slightly left out, or just feeling different than other people, or also feeling, like you had to dim your light or whatever else. You're here to be different. So honoring that. And congratulations for getting all the way through your Saturn return. Look at it, moving away, running away as fast as it can. Because with Saturn in the 5th house, it feels like you've been an old soul since you arrived here. 5th house is play, Saturn is work and structure. And so with Saturn in the 5th, there can be this energy, whether it was younger, like not really feeling that like carefree energy of play, or even as you're older, like feeling guilty if you dare have a free moment to yourself, or if you dare do something fun, or dare do something for yourself. The Virgo moon is trying to do everything perfectly and handle everything. But again, with that Virgo moon Sagittarius sun, like, it's okay to have fun. It's okay to have a mess. It's okay to just finger paint all afternoon and do nothing productive. Like, part of that Saturn return was around reclaiming that sort of like light and joy and play within your life, and not feeling guilty for your joy. Because again, it's a focal point in this life, disrupting the expectations of others, marching to the beat of your own drum, protecting your sacred family reality, and being able to protect and promote your joy in a myriad of ways. So I do want to briefly touch on your transits. I highlighted earlier Neptune squaring Mercury, which happens April, September, and February 2023. And what I really want to highlight about that is that you could just find that you feel misunderstood. You could have a harder time clarifying what it is that you want. You could find that your head is in the clouds. So just something to be mindful of with that. But then, it's been sort of challenging. You've had South Node on a majority of your place, or rather 3 of your personal placements. And with South Node, there could have been this energy for the last year and a half. This would have started mid 2020, around not really feeling like yourself, or not really feeling in touch with your identity. Like, South Node can be sort of a vacuum sensation where it's like, who am I? You're coming out of that, which is beautiful. You're sort of being asked to lean into this energy of trust, of trusting that other people will meet your needs, of asking for help, whether it's from the spiritual support team or your partner or whoever else can support you. You're not here to do it all on your own, as well as releasing those like money stories that I was kind of talking about earlier with South Node going through the 2nd house. But I highlight this because all of these planets are getting a boost. So there could have been a loss of identity, or like, who am I? What am I doing? Which, Virgo moon and rising does not like feeling confused. And then with Jupiter entering Aries, it trines your Mercury, or rather in order, your Mars, May, October, and December, and then your Sun June, September, and February 2023, which is a can-do energy. It's around feeling more capable, particularly for that communication energy that we were speaking about earlier. That's super, super supportive. Like if you wanted to write or learn a new skill, like with Jupiter trine Mars, it's feeling more confident, it's feeling more capable, and same with Jupiter trine Sun. It's feeling like ourselves, it's feeling safe to share our light. So I really encourage you to dive into that if that is something that you've been craving. And Interplanet Janet, love, this was such an honor to be able to look at your chart. And just know, for anyone else who might be listening, and for Interplanet Janet, that these readings do come with follow-up questions. It's not meant to just be me just like, what? It is meant to be a dialogue, you know, because I know that I talk really fast and sometimes analogies don't necessarily land. So do feel comfortable reaching out to me with the questions that arose, or if there was clarification. And I just feel so honored to be able to convey the beauty of the birth chart. And I just also want to highlight this is past, present, future. So being okay if certain things you were like, okay, I used to feel that, but not as much. Or certain things you're like, okay, yes, definitely right now. And certain things where it's like, I don't resonate as much. It could make more sense in 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, which is why I'm shifting into the recorded format in general, because I just think having this information, sometimes the message isn't for us right now, it's for the future, and your birth chart is consistently evolving. And love, this was such an honor. And to anyone who's listening, thanks so much for being here. And until we meet again, drink lots of water and stay cosmic.
Loves, thank you so much for joining me through this exploration of this individual's chart. Thank you so much to this soul who offered their chart to me. Thank you for using your chart as a teaching opportunity. I hope individuals who watched maybe learned something, maybe learned more about how I conduct chart readings. Hopefully it illuminated my style if it is one that resonates with you. My Instagram handle, loves, is at Haley Comet Astrology. My TikTok is the same. I would love to connect with you over there. And until we meet again, drink lots of water and stay cosmic.